And it is a pleasure to welcome Alejandro Tosti to Golf Central. Now, we have to start, Alejandro, with your hole-in-one during the practice round at TPC Sawgrass. I am really curious, what was that moment like, and how and when did you decide that jumping into the pond was the way that you wanted to celebrate that accomplishment?
Well, it's definitely one of my highlights in my golf career. And, you know, it's funny because about 2 hours before that happened, I was on the 8th hole, another par 3, and I was with the media people from the PGA Tour, and they did a kind of a walking interview. And I can't remember exactly what the question was, but I went ahead and I said, if I ever had a hole-in-one, and I said, I never had a hole-in-one. And if I get a hole-in-one on hole 17, I'm jumping in the water. And I guess, I mean, it's really, really crazy that 2 hours before that, I play golf for 22 years now, since I'm 6 years old. Never had the opportunity to make a hole-in-one. I've seen the craziest thing you can imagine, but this was the time, and it was meant to be. And, you know, just to have it, to get it done on that hole, it's just super special. To be honest, I didn't think the cameras were running, but then a couple hours later, I found all the videos and everything. I saw that it went viral everywhere, so it was super exciting.
Did you think for a second, though, of what else might be in that pond?
Yes, so my buddy was there with me, and, you know, I was straight running into the lake. I was gonna dive, and I kind of stopped right before jumping, and I said, should I jump or not? And he tackled me, and when I was falling, I just ended up jumping in the water last second, and it was a really cool moment. You know, I was so excited that I thought I was swimming after, but after looking at the videos, people were asking me how deep the water was, and I didn't even remember that I was standing, and it's just to a waist height. Yeah. So it was, in the moment, I was so excited that I didn't even remember that I was standing there. And then I kind of thought, like, oh my God, like, there are gators here, so I better get out of here. And my body was able to pull me out. So it was a little scary for a second.
It was definitely one of the fun parts of that week. Now let's talk about your journey a little bit. You grew up in Argentina. What drew you to the sport? Why was it golf for you?
I started playing golf because the Masters was going on ESPN, and I was in the living room watching TV. I always liked to watch the sports, and I caught the Masters, and my brother went into the backyard and grabbed a charcoal stick and a ping pong ball, and we started hitting that ball into the drain that had no cover. So that's how I got into golf. And after a couple weeks bothering all around the house with that stick and the ball, I started begging my parents to take me to the golf course. And it took them a couple more weeks until they finally started trying to find out where I could play, and started asking people if they knew anyone who played golf, because nobody in my family played and nobody knew anything about the sport.
And how hard was it then for you, given all of those realities, to be able to play, to find a place where you could practice and learn the game of golf?
Yeah, so in my city there are 2 country clubs, and I approached there, and it was not very accessible for my parents to pay the golf school or a membership in those clubs. But those clubs recommended another club that it's about 12 miles away from the city. And that's where I started on the weekends on the little golf school that was very popular, and there were a lot of young kids. And it's in Mitre de Perez, so that's the club where I started playing, and that's where I started my journey with golf.
Now, your journey with the PGA Tour is now in its 2nd year. How have you adjusted? How is it going for you so far, do you feel?
Well, I'm living my dream. You're talking about that kid, and all that comes to my mind is like all the sacrifices that my family made. They supported me without any judgment. They had no idea about what could I do. They never did it because I could be a professional golfer or nothing. It was just I wanted to try the sport. I got in, but the first time The second week that I started competing, that I started practicing golf, I had a tournament. I came in third place, and they gave me a medal, and that medal meant everything to me. Since that day, I wanted to win. I wanted to play good, and I started playing tournaments regionally, and then national tournaments. And I had a dream. I wanted to play. At 9 years old, I told my dad that I wanted to be a professional golfer, and he looked down at me. I remember this. He looked down at me and said, "Well, first you're gonna have to get your degree." And yeah, it was a whole career for that. I played junior golf in Argentina, and then representing the country all over the world. And then I started receiving offers for scholarships, and moved to the States, to the University of Florida, where I had a great time, and I've learned so many things. About 10 years ago, my English was not great. It was not even my second language, and I was studying to pass the SAT. And nowadays, I'm living in the United States, living my dream to be a professional golfer and playing at the highest level with the best players in the world.
Speaking of your college career, your college coach at Florida, J.C. Deacon, had this to say of you, and I'm quoting, "Alejandro is not scared of anyone. He's not out there to make friends. He's out there to rip your heart out," close quote. Is that a fair description of you?
You know, I think that came when last year at this tournament, we had a little trying to figure it out with Tony Finau, who was farthest from the hole. He was on the left of me, so I was going to step on his mark. And usually, if you're stepping on somebody else's mark, he would go first, but he wanted me to go first. So they took that incident like very to the next level and made a bunch of things and said a lot of things about me. And, you know, on the very next hole, I make a putt for birdie from like 10 feet, and I do a fist bump. And then the reporter started saying that I fist bumped to his face, and it's not even close. It's crazy how the people can take and make stories from nothing, and it's really sad because it really affects the players, and my family suffers a lot when they see things like this. They don't think that it's fair, and you know, I'm here trying to achieve my dream, that is winning on the PGA Tour, playing in the Masters, and you know, yes, at some point, what JC is saying, yes, I mean, I have a lot of stories in college. I had to play qualifier between the guys in the team. We were 13 guys, and only 3 guys, the top 3 guys of qualifiers, will go to a tournament. And you know, I wanted to travel, I wanted to play golf, and I did everything I could to make to that team. I knew I was good, and I had a clear goal. And when my teammates were partying and I was sleeping, you know, I had it very clear. So the next day when I go on the course, I just want to go and win.
Alejandro, you have developed a bit of a social media following, though. This is a fan following we're talking about, whether it's driving the green at Valhalla last year, or drinking from a coconut during the Sony Open, or as we just talked about, jumping in the water. There's a certain authenticity about the way in which you carry yourself. Are these windows, do you think, into who you really are, or is part of it realizing that you're also on a stage out there to entertain?
You know, it's a good question, but I try to be as most authentic as I can. I'm different, I know that, to the average. I grew up in a different country, speaking a different language, different culture, and I'm special. So, you know, the person that you see out there is not faking anything. It's not trying to entertain anyone, not trying to do anything special. It's just pure who I am. And the people that is close to me and they know me in an everyday basis, they know who I am. And they are proud that I keep my personality, and I don't let that what everybody says about me bother me.
Well, I can assure you, my friend, many, many more people are getting to know you much better here today. I do want to ask you about one of your biggest fans. It might be PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan. He walked the course with you at Q School last year, and he was there to congratulate you after you earned your card. How did that relationship and friendship start?
We had, when I was in Florida, we attended a charity event, the Golf Fights Cancer in Jacksonville, which is not far from Gainesville. And we met a very special guy there that he was Jay's friend that ended up passing away because of cancer. And you know, he was the first person that I met with cancer, and I was able to see his progress through the illness. And you know, it was really, really sad, and it marked my life. And I met a lot of people. I used to take trips to visit him and see how he was doing, and you know, just trying to bring him a smile, you know. And ended up being that he was in his last couple months of life. And you never know what people are going through, and just to be able to put a smile at somebody's faces, it makes me, nowadays I look back and I say, wow, I was 19 years old, and I was just taking a trip to make this guy smile for a couple minutes in a day, and that would make his day. So that's how we connected, and until this day I made some really good friends in Jacksonville that I keep up with and go visit them. And actually my host for the Q School was another friend in common, and it's the same. It's a lot of nice people, and that's how I ended up meeting Jay.
Alejandro, thank you for letting us get to know you a little bit better. We wish the very best to you and your family.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.